If your conditional formatting looks perfect, then you sort or filter, and suddenly the colors feel random. You're not imagining it. In most cases, the rules didn't break. They started applying to a different set of cells than you think. The root cause is almost always the same. Excel stores conditional formatting as rules tied to an applies to range, and sorting or filtering can change what data ends up inside that range. The confusing part is that the worksheet still looks like the same list, but Excel may treat it as a plain range in one moment and a structured table in another. That difference controls whether rules move with the data or stay pinned to cell addresses. Once you understand that one idea, the fixes become straightforward. You'll learn how to spot the failure pattern, how to diagnose the applies to range, and how to rebuild rules so they survive sorts and filters. And you'll know when to use a table versus a normal range for reliable formatting. Next step. Let's separate two different problems that look similar. Problem 1 is formatting moves to the wrong rows after sorting. That usually means the rule is anchored to cell positions, not to the logical record. Problem 2 is formatting disappears after filtering. That often happens when the rule only covers part of the list, so filtered results fall outside the applies to range. There's also a third sneaky case. The rule still applies, but it references the wrong column because the formula uses relative references that shift when you copy or expand the range. The key is to identify which failure you have before changing anything. Ask one simple question. After sorting, are the highlighted cells still in the same physical addresses, like A2 or D15? Or are they following the values you care about, like a specific customer or status? That answer tells you whether you're dealing with a range anchoring issue, a coverage issue, or a formula reference issue. Next step. Conditional formatting is not stored as color this customer, it's stored as apply this rule to these cells. That these cells part is the applies to range. If you remember only one thing, remember this. Excel evaluates the rule separately for every cell inside that applies to range. When you sort a normal range, Excel rearranges values, but the conditional formatting rules can remain tied to the original cell addresses. So the rule keeps evaluating A2, A3, A4, even though the records in those rows are different now. Filtering adds another twist. Filtering hides rows, but it doesn't change the applies to range. If your list grows and the applies to range doesn't, new rows won't get the rule. That's why it can feel like filtering broke the formatting when it really exposed that the rule never covered the full data set. The fix is often about making the applies to range dynamic and aligned with how your data expands. Next step. Now the big divider. Excel tables versus normal ranges. A table is a special object with structured references and built-in behavior for expansion. When you apply conditional formatting to a table column, Excel usually keeps that formatting attached to the column as the table grows, sorts, and filters. That's because the applies to range becomes a table-aware reference, not just a fixed block like $2, $D100. A normal range has none of that. It's just addresses. If you add rows, the rule might not extend. If you sort only part of the range, the rule might separate into multiple fragments. And once rules fragment, they become harder to manage and more likely to act weird after the next sort. Tables aren't magic, though. You can still create fragile rules inside a table if your formula references are inconsistent. But as a default, if your data is a list with headers and you sort or filter it often, converting to a table is the most reliable foundation. Next step. Here's a common scenario that causes conditional formatting to stop working after sorting. You formatted only one column, but your formula depends on another column. For example, you highlight the entire row when status equals late, but you applied the rule only to column A. After sorting, the status values move, but your formula might still be checking a relative cell that no longer lines up the way you intended. The stable approach is to apply the rule to the full row range you want colored, and lock the column reference you're testing. In plain terms, you want the where to color to be broad and the what to check to be precise. This is where absolute references matter. If you want to check the status column, you often lock that column with a $sign, while letting the row change. That way, when Excel evaluates each row, it always looks at the correct status cell for that row. Next step. Another reason rules fail after sorting is rule fragmentation. Excel can split one clean rule into many smaller rules when you sort, paste, insert, or format sections differently. You end up with the same looking rule repeated across scattered applies to blocks. At first, you don't notice, but after a sort, some blocks move, others don't, and the outcome looks inconsistent. The practical symptom is this: two cells with the same value don't get the same formatting. When that happens, don't immediately rewrite the formula. First, check whether you have multiple near-duplicate rules. The fix is to consolidate. You keep one rule with one formula, and you set one continuous applies to range that covers the entire dataset area you care about. Consolidation reduces the chance that sorting creates different behavior in different parts of the list. It also makes troubleshooting much faster, because you're not hunting through a stack of almost identical rules. Next step. Let's talk about filtering specifically, because it creates a unique illusion. Filtering doesn't change values. It just hides rows that don't match. Conditional formatting still evaluates hidden rows, but you don't see the result. So if you filter to a subset and the formatting looks gone, it's often because the visible rows are outside the applies to range, or because the rule is based on something that changes with visibility, like a formula that returns blanks for hidden rows. Another subtle issue is that people apply conditional formatting to a selection that starts below the header, like row 2 to row 50. Then later, they add data down to row 500. Filtering makes you jump around the list, so you notice the unformatted part more. A robust setup is to ensure your applies to range covers the full expected growth area, or better, convert to a table so the range expands automatically. Filtering then becomes a non-event for your formatting. Next step. When you use a table, conditional formatting can be more durable, but only if you set it up in a table-native way. The best practice is to apply formatting to the entire table column, not to a manually selected block. Then, when the table grows, the rule grows. Also, prefer structured references when you can, because they keep your logic tied to column names, not to letters. That said, some conditional formatting dialogues still show cell addresses even when the rule is table-based, which can be confusing. The real test is behavior. Add a new row and see if the formatting appears automatically. If it does, you're table native. If it doesn't, you likely applied the rule to a fixed range inside the table, which defeats the point. Another tip is consistency. If you mix manual formatting with table styles and conditional formatting, you can get priority conflicts. Keep your conditional formatting rules minimal and intentional, and let the table style handle the basic look. Next step. Priority and stop if true are the next hidden culprits. Conditional formatting is evaluated in order. If a higher rule formats the cell, a lower rule might never show, especially if stop if true is enabled. Sorting and filtering don't change the priority order, but they can change which rule becomes true for which cells, because the underlying values move. That can make it feel like sorting broke the rule, when actually another rule is now taking over. This is common when you have overlapping rules, like one for blanks, one for duplicates, and one for thresholds. The clean approach is to design rules so they don't overlap, or to make the priority explicit. Put the most specific rule first, put the broad catch-all rules last, and use stop if true only when you're sure you want to block anything below. If your formatting is inconsistent after sorting, checking priority is a fast win, especially in workbooks that have evolved over time. Next step. Here's a reliable diagnostic routine you can use every time. First, identify one cell that should be formatted, but isn't. Then check which conditional formatting rules apply to that exact cell. You're looking for two things. 1. Is the cell inside the applies to range of the rule you expected? 2. If it is inside, does the formula evaluate the way you think for that row? If the cell isn't included, it's a coverage problem. Fix the applies to range or move to a table. If the cell is included, but the result is wrong, it's a reference problem. Adjust relative versus absolute references, especially the column you test. If the cell is included and the formula is correct, but the format still doesn't show, it's likely a priority problem. Move the rule up or remove overlap. This routine prevents random tweaking. It turns conditional formatting from mysterious into a simple checklist. Next step. Let's get practical about fixes for normal ranges, because sometimes you can't use tables. Maybe you're feeding the range into another tool, or the layout is not tabular. In that case, you want to make your applies to range resilient. One approach is to apply the rule to an entire column segment that safely covers growth, like from row 2 down to a reasonable maximum. Another approach is to use a dynamic named range and point the applies to range at that. The goal is the same. Your dataset changes size, but your rule still covers it. Next, keep sorting behavior clean. Always sort the entire dataset, not a single column, so values and related fields move together. Partial sorts are a common way to create mismatches that look like formatting errors. Finally, avoid copying cells with different conditional formats into the middle of your dataset. That's a fast way to fragment rules and create inconsistent behavior after the next sort. Next step. Now, when should you choose a table and when should you stay with a range? Choose a table when your data is a list with a header row, consistent columns, and frequent sorting or filtering. Tables give you automatic expansion, consistent formulas, and more stable conditional formatting coverage. Stay with a range when your layout is more like a report, with merged sections, subtotals, or multiple header bands. Conditional formatting can still work there, but you'll need to be more deliberate about applies to ranges and references. There's also a middle ground. You can keep the main dataset as a table, then build a separate report area that references the table. That way the part you sort and filter is robust, and the display layer stays flexible. If conditional formatting reliability matters, structure beats cleverness. The more your data behaves like a clean database table, the more Excel can keep your rules aligned with the records you care about. Next step. Let's wrap it up into a simple mental model you can reuse. Conditional formatting is stable when three things are stable. 1. The applies to range consistently covers the data you mean to format. 2. The rules formula references the correct cells for each row, even after sorting. 3. Rule priority is intentional, so the right rule wins when multiple rules could apply. Tables help most with the first point, coverage, because they expand and keep rules tied to columns. Ranges require more manual discipline, especially as the dataset grows. If you're stuck with a range, focus on coverage and consolidation, and be careful with partial sorts and pasted formats. If you can use a table, apply rules to whole columns and test by adding new rows. If you want, share your situation in one line. Are you using a table or a range? And for the call to action, rate your conditional formatting pain from 1 to 10 in the comments. If you want more Excel troubleshooting like this, subscribe. I'm always testing new ways to work smarter. Subscribe to see what workflow I'm breaking down next.